obviously being regarded as one of those sort of selectors that has kind of paved the way for a lot of people. Obviously, you've given a platform to a lot of people. You've given opportunity to a lot of people over the years. Like, how have you kind of found, obviously, taking in music from that sort of more selector angle over this lockdown period? Like, who have you been watching? Like, what's been the sort of general vibe you've been getting from grime in general?
It's an interesting one, right? Because some people do and some people don't have access to like facilities to carry on recording. You know, some people have studio setups built in their house. Some people are just not paying any attention to any guidelines and recording, you know, and not being held back in that sense. Some people do have access to studios that they can access in a safe way. And, you know, some people just, their output has really been low through no fault of their own. And it's really interesting to see how that's kind of shaped things. I found it really, really cool listening to A-Man, who was on just now. Great energy in the morning. That certainly set me on track for this interview and getting my energy levels up as I sip my coffee in the morning. But for me, one of the most fascinating things from, you know, someone that's been DJing for as long as I have, like for me to sit out a year, you know, I've got 20 plus years of playing out. So like for me to lose out on a year, it's like, yeah, it sucks, but I'll be back next year and I have these opportunities. But as a new artist coming through and they're breaking and they're getting all these great opportunities and support on wider, you know, mainstream radio, for them to like bust in this time, but then not have the opportunity to go out and experience like the live feedback of having a hit record, you know, like that must be so daunting and a difficult thing for those artists to deal with, right? Because they haven't got the longevity yet where they can feel comfortable in the knowledge that, yeah, you know what, I'll come back next time, right? Like 6 months, a year, 18 months, I'll still be here, I'll still be firing out the hits. And, you know, it's really nice to hear so much positive, upbeat energy from A-Man on earlier. And, you know, I hope a lot of the artists, the young artists that are coming through and just getting their first glimpses of real, like, widespread acknowledgement can have that kind of positive attitude towards waiting out the conditions we're in at the moment and hopefully seeing the rightful opportunities they deserve to go and share their art with a live audience. Because you know what, like, online's nice, seeing yourself on the timeline's cool, seeing the views rack up on the YouTubes and the plays rack up on the Spotify and Apple Music, that's great. But going out and even performing to just a couple hundred people, not necessarily thousands at a festival, even a couple hundred people that are all there just to see you, I promise you, there's no comparison. You know, 1 million views on a YouTube view or video compared to 100 people in a tightly packed venue that have come just to see you. I'd take the 100 people every day of the week. And, you know, I hope those guys get the opportunity to get that real soon.
100%, man. I mean, it's so interesting to hear you talk about it. Obviously, again, you're someone that's been so involved in UK music for so long, and you're someone that's left such a mark on it in regards to, again, obviously people you've brought through in the raves you've been playing over the years. Like, obviously, in regards to playing out again, what's the thing that you're most looking forward to doing when it is a thing that we are able to do?
Yeah, man, just playing out.
Yeah.
I just enjoy playing grime music to people that are there and interested in hearing grime music. You know, towards the end of the uptake of grime, I'd say like 2014 to 2017, 18. Around that 2017, 18 mark, I was getting opportunities to play in venues where there was clearly an issue with an audience that kind of liked the idea of grime but didn't really know what it was, and promoters that kind of were booking grime as a buzzword and, again, just generally associated it with just British black music.
Yeah, of course.
And, you know, 2017, 2018, there was so much different strains and avenues of British black music and MC-led music that was out there that, you know, I think now we're in a position where people are a little bit more discerning as to, is this grime? Is that grime? You know, is it this? Is it that? You know, I think people are a little bit more clued up now, having more exposure to it. And I'm looking forward to going out again playing to some people that like are really there to hear grime, and maybe not so much the commercial crowds that I ended up playing to in that 2017, 2018
Yeah, I remember
era.
that era, man. I remember it, and it was very much I feel this was also an era where stuff like the Spotify playlists that were like Grime Shutdown and stuff like that, they were full of tunes that were in no way, shape or form grime music.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it is what it is. The business needs to generate money to feed the monster. So I understand, but yeah, it is certainly misinformation being put out there, and now these other sounds are getting their own rightful, their rightful shine. The drill and trap, Afro beats, all of that. Just general commercial Black British music has its own space to live, and it's not just being thrown underneath a grime umbrella. Just as a lazy catch-all for everything.
Yeah,
all
no,
these
100%.
Scenes that have been working for, in the terms of UK hip-hop and drum and bass, much older than grime. So, it's cool that everyone's getting their shine, and the people can come out and get what they're expecting to hear. And I just love playing those kind of places, like I'm not one of these cross-genre DJs. I never have been. It's never really been my remit. Never really been in my interest to play anything other than, grime and what came before it in like that underground garage, crew garage kind of sound.
Of course.
And I'm happy to get out and play that again. And, it's cool to see as soon as the announcement was made, you've got, people like Grime Originals announcing like dates for July straight away. And, I'm looking forward to attending that as a fan more so than anything. I'm not on that lineup. I think they've gone for Spyro and Max for the first one back. Okay. I'll keep it fair and rotate everybody, haven't you?
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Yeah, just for those kind of nights, Eskimo Dance coming back as well, and then everyone else will get back on track. And really looking forward to just enjoying this music again in a live format.
100%, man. No, I completely agree with you. And that concept of obviously playing live, there really is nothing like it. And I feel at this point that's definitely the thing that people are missing more than anything else. It's more the just the vibe of a live music environment. It's so you can't replicate that in the living room. You can't replicate that online. That is something. It's about the smell that's in the air. It's about the warmth in the room. It's about the kind of hum you're getting off the subs at the front of the room. It's something that is so incomparable, especially in that sort of performance element. And I completely agree. There's going to be so many artists that have never experienced that are now going to be, when things actually open up, it's going to be literally like a whole new world is going to open up.
Yeah. I hope so. For so many different types of sounds and genres as well. But, there's a wave of cool artists that will benefit from getting to play live events within grime as well. I think everyone benefits from just playing live events, really. So.
No, 100%. No, I completely agree. So, kind of moving forward then with yourself, obviously, sort of moving into sort of 2021, in regards to just sort of general projects and things you're working on. Like, what's the sort of general thing you're looking at doing for when things do start to open up? Obviously, apart from playing out, like, are there any other projects you've got kind of in the bag?
I'm currently sort of working on putting together like some multimedia stuff. I did a few episodes of a video podcast in 2019. Do you know what? Time's just a blur now, isn't it?
Yeah, entirely. You know what? We were talking before. We went live about something I saw you in, and I didn't even realise that came out a year ago. So
over a year ago now. Yeah,
exactly. I'm completely in the same boat, man. Like that whole concept. I'm saying 2019 as though it was like a few months ago. Like, it's bizarre.
Oh, do you know what's weird? Like, it's March already.
Yeah.
Like yesterday was New Year, and we were saying goodbye to 2020, and what a terrible year that was, and 2021 kicked off with about 4 awful things back to back to back, and 3 months in already. So
entirely, man. I mean, so on with the sort of multimedia side of things as well. Just to kind of jump back to that, like, is that something you do have a real enjoyment out of getting?
It's just moving into something new because, for me, I started doing regular weekly pirate radio in 2002. So I'm approaching 20 years.
20 years in the game, man. That's crazy.
In doing weekly radio. So for me, I'm really looking to just try something else. You know, there's people out there, especially for grime, that are doing an amazing job with weekly radio. You know, Spyro holding it down on One Extra, Rude Kid on Kiss. You know, you've got guys like Oblig and Spooky, and you know, even Teddy's out there as well, running up and down on the radio. There's DJs out there that are doing a great job, and for me, that whole process of turning up and reporting on what's going on via the radio is something that I don't have the same motivation for currently. So rather than just not do anything, it's just about pivoting, right? You know, and for me, providing that same kind of insight and love for because the love for the music is still burning just as much as it ever has done. Of course. It's just the format in which I want to kind of present it. So for me, like, multimedia stuff is a lot more interesting. Trying to take my time, and rather than just doing volume of weekly shows every week, you know, whether there's something that is momentous or not, you still have to turn up. I mean, you know, it's like, you're one of the hardest working people I see on my timeline.
Coming from yourself, so that is a genuine. That's an absolute honour to hear. So thank you. You
know, some days you turn up and you're really excited about like the stuff that you've got to do, and then there's definitely some other days where it's like, what can we get for the show today?
Yeah,
and that's just the content job, right? That's what it is. Some days you're really just trying to force content because you have an obligation to do content. And I kind of got to that point after 20 years of weekly radio.
Of course. I mean, it'd be surprising if you didn't, you know?
This is what's going on this week, and I have to push out what happened last week, and we're moving on. I might, you know, the thing that happened 2 weeks ago might still require more exposure, but I have to keep moving forward, always forward. And taking my time to like curate things of a bit more value, I think is something that interests me a great deal more. You know, I can put together more bespoke, high-end projects that give a lot more reverence to the subjects that I'm dealing with, be it, you know, a release, an artist, a specific topic of discussion, an era, an event that happened, and whatever it is, you know, I can dedicate, you know, and I'm not restricted to formats as well. You know, if it's a radio show, it has to be an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. It has to be in this format. With multimedia, I can do whatever I want. Like, this deserves a 30-minute documentary. This is a 2-hour sit-down conversation. This is a 20-minute mix of only tunes from this specific time period by this artist. You know, whatever I want to do, and that just keeps it really exciting for me. So I'm really looking to do a lot more of that underneath the Keeping It Grimy brand. That, you know, I've kind of had there floating around in the ether for a decade now.
Awesome.
We're looking at pushing the website again a lot more, where we can just make it easier for people that have an interest in grime to just stay up to date with what's going on. And I don't just mean, you know, your Stormzy's and Getz's and AJ Tracy's and Skeptors and P Moneys that are at the very, very top. I also want to make sure that people that are coming to the platform to hear and see what's happening for those artists, they'll get to find out, you know, about the exciting newer talent that are coming through, and a bit more raw, but, you know, they've got that excitement to them. Sort of names like SBK and guys like Duppy, who have done a great job coming through over the last year, despite it being a lockdown period. He's got a project coming out with Grand Mixer real soon, and it's something that's important to me, because I think one of the shortcomings in grime is it's so difficult to follow.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's so disparate and spread out. So I just want to try and aggregate that and work in some really cool people on making that happen.
Amazing, man. Well, this is all so it's so exciting to hear. I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing when stuff starts to land and we start seeing stuff on the timeline. We have run out of time, although I could literally sit here and listen to you talk about this sort of stuff for hours on end. Logan, it's been an absolute pleasure for coming on the show. It's a genuine honour to have you on this line.
All good, man. All the best with Trickstar as well. I hope things keep growing.
That's what we love to hear. Thank you, sir. Well, we're going to round off here then, people. Thank you, Logan, for jumping on the line. Obviously, make sure you are checking out the podcast. It is available on the Trickstar Radio app. And where can people get hold of you on the socials?
DJ Logan Sama on everything. Insta, Twitter, Facebook, DJ Logan Sama.
That's what we love to hear. Right then, people, we're going to crack on with another one. This one coming from Tommy B alongside Z. and Crunchy. Keep it locked and don't go anywhere. It's Breakfast with Kovu. Oh, yes.